Hello and welcome to Merlins Brick News, the weekly show on all things brick building, where we talk about set updates and announcements from all the major brands, MOCs of the week, and new LEGO Ideas entries as well. Information is presented as always by setdb.org, the best source for set information on the internet. And this is where we are actually going. As always, in alphabetical order, we will start with BlueBrixx. And here we have an announcement for the next display size Star Trek set. So we're talking about the USS Enterprise, the NX-01, the 105437 by BlueBrixx. We do not know the piece count yet. When I said display size, BlueBrixx is selling these Star Trek models in 3 different sizes. So you have very tiny models, around 100 pieces usually. Then you have mid-size, 500-600 pieces on average. And then these display size models that can go easily beyond 2,000 pieces. And this one here is now the NX-01. They have done a mid-size of this one in the last wave, I think, but in this wave now full scale. So interesting about this one is that it seems all the pieces are on flat silver. That's at least what BlueBrixx has announced, and you can already see this here a little bit on these pieces. So it's not light bluish gray as all the other Starfleet ships are, but it is completely flat silver, which could be at the end be the largest set ever made in that specific color. How good the pieces are going to be is of course the big question. How good, because usually means flat silver, that means the pieces are painted, right? Like, so how good is that? We do not know yet. Usually BlueBrixx Pro sets are manufactured by Sembo, so let's see how good the pieces are. Anyhow, here we have the NX-01. I'm not sure if I like the warp drives. They look a bit angular for my taste, but yeah, let's just see how this thing will turn out. I definitely intend to build it. We do not have a piece count yet. Of course, as always with BlueBrixx announcements, we also do not have a price. What I can say though is that the mid-size model I really liked. I think it was, I guess, one of my favorite mid-size models at the end of the day. As always with the display size model, you have 2 6x6 tiles included on a stand, one with some information on the ship, like how long it is, numbers, etc., and the other one with the logo. Logo usually, usually not, logo is as always adapted to the series the model originates from. In this case, of course, it is the TV series that was just called Enterprise with Captain Archer, etc., etc. So NX-01 display stand, or the stand for the ship itself, looks a bit like the one from the Galaxy class. However, what is interesting is that the stand is also in the shape of the ship, which I think is the first time they've done that. Nice touch. But of course, a lot of folks are curious like how well the pieces will turn out. So like I said, I intend to build it. So let's see how that goes. Then BlueBrixx has also announced that they will get in a couple of birds as part of their own BlueBrixx Special series. And here we are talking about, I think they announced like 5 or 6 birds. I just have here a couple of examples. So for instance, the Sparrow, the 106714, it's going to have 159 pieces. As always, of course, we do not know the price yet. Price is by BlueBrixx. That's different to other vendors, not announced before the set actually comes to market. So, for instance, very different from LEGO. But here we go. It's 7.5 centimeters in width, slightly above 11 centimeters in height, and 17 centimeters in depth. So this is a sparrow. There's a wagtail, a robin, a woodpecker, a buzzard. So a couple of birds, all designed in similar, let's say, fashion, similar size, designed by Adrian, actually, from the BlueBrixx team, usually around 150 pieces each. So I do assume these will be, I don't know, less than $10, I guess, or maybe $10. That's what my guess is going to be. They look quite beautiful, I must say. They are very well designed, and I guess they're also interesting. I mean, just for folks who are interested in birds, they're interesting to collect due to their small size and small price. And yeah, here we go. Then we have a couple of availabilities. So we have the track weigher, train track weigher with loading scale, the 105508. This thing is gonna cost by is priced by BlueBrixx with $25, as again in Europe that always includes tax. 431 pieces. And yeah, here we go. That's 5.8 cents a piece, 6.5 cents per gram roughly. And it has, I think, 4 tracks included. So if you need a bit of additional capabilities around your train stations, then here you go. And then we have, actually, that's interesting. I do not have, or they have not provided an English translation for this one. It's German Diesel Schnelltriebwagen. I have no idea. I mean, you get the idea what this thing is. We're talking about the 105392. It's available now for $60 by BlueBrixx. It's 4.5 cents a piece. It has 1,368 pieces, and it has an interesting size. So I guess this is like a typical 6-stud train if you look at the design, but technically it actually has its 7 studs width on the roof. But yeah, from a scale perspective, I guess it's more like a 6-stud train. And yeah, here you go. I think you can usually motorize these things from BlueBrixx quite easily. So here you go, a German Diesel Schnelltriebwagen. Actually, I mean, I live in Germany. I've never seen one of those before. I have no idea where they drive around. Maybe Berlin, something like that, somewhere in the city. I don't know. Not sure. I haven't seen it before, but I'm not really the biggest train enthusiast. I am, however, an enthusiast in old ancient architecture, and here you have the Acropolis from Athens, from Greece. We're talking about the 105265, an architecture set with 2,143 pieces. I actually started building this one yesterday. So I immediately ordered it. I'm a big fan also of this designer, Anton from the BlueBrixx team. $100, 4.67 cents a piece. That's not that cheap. However, even if it is an architecture set, it has a lot of large pieces in here, right? If you look on the roof, so all the building are on. It's completely Snot Technic in bricks. You have a lot of like brick size slopes, so like not 2/3 slopes, but full slopes. So I think it's not going to be as bad as it may look like from initially, because yeah, usually, I mean, architecture sets should have a much lower price. And of course, if you come from LEGO, 4.7 cents a piece does not sound that much, but keep in mind, these are Kuhn Long pieces. They do not have the same quality. So usually BlueBrixx sets are a lot cheaper. But like I said, this thing might turn out to be quite heavy. So I don't know yet. As I said, I started building yesterday, so I'm still in the early beginning. But of course, I will put this thing on my scale at the end, and then we know more, like how good the price actually is. Next to that, I think it's a pretty accurate representation. But yeah, looking forward to continue to build this one. Really, really happy with the architecture series by BlueBrixx. They have done a lot of amazing stuff out there. I mean, LEGO is not doing that much architecture anymore, but BlueBrixx is definitely, fill in the gap, releasing a ton of interesting stuff. I recently built St. Peter's Basilica. Amazing design. Really, really great. Anyhow, let's move on. I think this is the next one, or is it not? No, I think this is the one. So let's go to this accessoire package for railroad. So that's a lot of tiny like signals and stuff like we have it typically over here in Europe. So it's definitely European design. We're talking about the 105053, 624 pieces, and I don't have a price because somehow this is broken. That's unfortunate. I will try to fix this as soon as I can. Let me just briefly go over to the German version, because there I do have a price. So in Germany, I mean, language doesn't matter, price is always the same, it's $30. So that makes 4.8 cents a piece, roughly 7 cents per gram. Here we go. You have again 4 tracks included, and yeah, a couple of extensions and utilities that you may need for your train display. Here you go. And then, as always, from time to time, I'd like to pick out an old, very old set from BlueBrixx that, however, is again available. Like I've said many times before, BlueBrixx usually does not put sets into end of life. They bring them back as long as people continue to buy them. And this is a good example. Again, this is from the early days of BlueBrixx, from 2018. I believe it is. And we're talking about the Hanomag with V2 rocket and launch ramp. So V2 rocket, famously known, designed by Werner von Braun, who I think later on was leading NASA. And this is actually, however, a military rocket designed by Nazi Germany. And here you go, pretty old set, pretty old school. Pictures are really old school, but anyhow, BlueBrixx brought it back. It's 25 bucks for 480 pieces, makes 5.2 cents a piece and 8.5 cents per gram. With that, we are moving on to CaDA, and here we have the Z-Win sports car, the 51082. I'm actually not 100% sure. I built. Let me just double check. Yeah, so I've built the CaDA Citroën C4 WRC Rally, and this one here is very, very similar. It's 30 bucks, it's electrified, and it's like, I assume, because this is what the Citroën was, a bit of a combination out of an, let's say, traditional RC car, stock car, whatever you may call it, and brick built. So it's like you have a center frame with the motor in it, and the receiver and batteries, etc., and then you build just a little bit of bricks around. It's different than, let's say a motorized Technic set. It's simplified. However, the big benefit of that construction is that, of course, you can drive around with this thing like crazy and nothing is going to break, basically, which is a big benefit. So I think it's a great set for kids. For two reasons. And like I said, you have a little bit of brick building. You can drive around like crazy, but this thing also has a dual mode. So you can also program it with your mobile phone. So there's like a graphical programming language in there. And you can basically tell it, okay, move forward for like 3 seconds, then turn left, again drive for 3 seconds, then turn right, stuff like that. It's quite simple. It doesn't have any sensors in it, but nevertheless, I mean, it is quite fun, I think, and then it adds a little bit in addition to the bricks for kids to enjoy. Here we go, and then let's move on. With that, we can move on to the ZBot robot. So CaDA has done one of those robots before. I think it was called iBot robot. Very similar. This one is slightly bigger. CaDA selling it for 47 bucks. These things are really amazing. So like I said, I built the predecessor. Same idea. So by means that you can program it with your mobile phone. If I remember correctly, there was also a normal remote included. So again, you have a little bit of building fun, and then you can drive around with these like crazy, and they are really funny. I mean, my entire family, including my wife, were really excited on this one. Again, the predecessor, because it's just a funny little guy. It's like number 5, right? And it's just so funny. It's moving its head, moving these weapons, and then you have the 2 tracks, and you can go with these really crazy due to the track drive. And like spin it on the same place and stuff like that. And again, however, you can also program it. So there's there's fun in there, there's bricks in there, and there's a remote, and then there is the coding and part of that. So I'm a big fan of this concept by CaDA. Then there's another one that they have announced and is also available in another CaDA element set. So these element sets, I think this is the 3rd one that they did, and the entire concept is here that it's a kind of a combination of bricks and paper or cardboard. So the first thing there was the flower garden set, and then they moved on to what they called mighty airplanes, and now they have endangered birds of North America. I think it's 3 birds. It's a piping plover, I think it's called. What else do we have here? Golden-cheeked wombler? I don't know. I can't really read it. And then you have Florida goose jay. Oh, again, I'm so sorry. I can't really read it. But anyhow, the piping plover here. It's a concept of CaDA, this cardboard brick combination. Personally, I've never built any of those. Bricks are enough for me. I don't need the cardboard. But yeah, if you're interested in that, CaDA, I think, believes that this is like also from an educational perspective interesting for younglings. But here you go. With that, we're moving on to Cobi. Unfortunately, actually, I talked about these already in the German version of this podcast, because over here in Germany, we have all of these sets I'm now going to talk about already available. However, they are not available with any shops that ship internationally. So I will talk about these briefly, but and so that just that they are available now by Cobi directly. So if you order in Poland, or and they are available in Germany. So I do assume that internationally they will get available pretty soon. But anyhow, let's go through them. So first we have the 5835, the Bell Boeing V-22 Osprey in the first flight edition. So that's like the red and white one. It has 1,136 pieces, and Cobi itself is asking for a list price of $80. Over here for the 1,136 pieces. The first flight edition, yeah, like I said, it has a non-military look, right? And I guess that's what will appeal to a lot of people. And then, however, we also have the, let's say, in the military look. I'm actually not sure if these things are operated by the US Air Force or by the Marine Corps. I honestly do not know. Anyhow, it is in a light gray. And we have here the V-22 Osprey. We are now talking about the 5836 by Cobi. It has 40 pieces less, but also 2 minifigures and more or less costs the same. So again, $80. Because it has less pieces, price per piece is of course not as good, but I think it's more or less at the end of the day. I mean, I've called before the first flight edition a bit like the executive edition, but that is not fair because it is more or less the same set. I think only the first flight edition has the stand, and I guess also that makes the difference for the piece count. So that's why I'm not 1% sure why they cost the same, but here you go. I personally went for the first flight edition. It arrived yesterday, I think, so I do intend to build it. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. Who knows? And then we have the Boeing 7378. It has only 340 pieces, and Cobi is listing it for $35. And yeah, here you go. 737 MAX by Boeing. And then we also have the Dreamliner, so the 7878. It has a lot more pieces, 836, and Cobi is asking for $60. Keep always in mind with the airplanes, the civil airplanes, usually they have a lot of very large pieces, especially in the nose and stuff like that. So that's actually not a bad price. That's not too shabby by Cobi. But again, retail availability for all of these sets is still a thing we have to wait for. And then we have the Polo NES 1.6 K-Row. So I think that's a Polish car, like from the, 70s or something. 24589. I think it was like a Polish-French collaboration, if I recall correctly. It's actually a car that at least I can't remember that I've ever seen one of those. Anyhow, this small thing has 106 pieces, and Cobi is asking for $15. Keep in mind with these cars, and that size and scale, they usually have a lot of very large pieces. Like if you look at the bonnet and stuff like that, it's like one piece. I guess that is just the Cobi style around these sets. All right, that was Cobi. Like I said, I do assume international availability is coming up soon. And then we have availability over here in Europe of a small rose by Decool. Usually I wouldn't talk about in the new show about such small sets. It's just $5, but look at the rose petals. They are in a very strange color that I've never seen before. I mean, obviously, I don't know. Maybe it's just an effect here of the photo, but I'm pretty sure that is the plan because it's called Phantom Rose by Decool. So quite interesting, actually. This could be, just an interesting set to check out for the pieces used here for the rose petals. And then with that, we are moving on to Forange. And here we have in Europe, I mean, I haven't seen this one with Chinese shops yet. Please put in the comments if I'm wrong here. But anyhow, over in Europe, we have now the Bismarck battleship available from Forange. We are talking about the 4201, and for the 2,081 pieces, you're just paying $75. That's 3.6 cents a piece, including tax. So I'm actually not sure how good this thing is. I mean, I've built Forange sets, and I would say the piece quality is not too shabby, but this thing here sounds really cheap. So I don't know how good it is, but it looks quite nice, I think, quite pleasing actually on this picture here. I mean, I don't know, of course, how it looks in reality. Of course, they're using regular pieces, so it's not like a Cobi set, right? But for all of those of you who say, okay, I want to build a ship like this, however, I want to reuse the pieces one day, because this is almost impossible to do this with Cobi, because Cobi pieces are different. I mean, they are bricks. You can put them together, but they are all very different in shape and form and color. So I think it's not a good investment to put into your collection. But with these Forange pieces, you should be able to do this much more easy, because they are more or less using the same molds, the same shapes that LEGO does. So that's, I think, a big boon. And of course, it's a lot cheaper than the Cobi Bismarck is going to be. I think the Cobi Bismarck will be beyond $200, and this is just 75. So I think that there are some arguments for the set. For me personally, I'm really looking forward to the new Bismarck by Cobi, which hopefully should start shipping maybe somewhere around next week. I will definitely report about it. And now we are moving on to LEGO, and here we go, the BTS Dynamite set 21339. It's going to be released 1st of March. LEGO's asking for $100. That's 13.3 cents a piece. So I do assume there's some hefty license tag in this one. I mean, the YouTube video BTS Dynamite, I think, has been watched 1.6 billion times. It's really crazy. Personally, I mean, let's put aside that I think this is a great set for fans of the band, right? And I guess that's the whole idea. Because from a BlueBrixx perspective, like for us, like regular brick builders, not a big fan of the band, I think this is not a good set, to be honest. I mean, it looks like a cheap Friends set. Yeah, there's a ton of panels, a ton of stickers, and 7 mediocre minifigures, right? You don't have printed legs or anything, printed hips, nothing, no printed arms. I mean, yes, you have dual mold arms in here for one of the dudes, but in general, I think maybe this blue hairpiece is new. Not sure, could be. Haven't checked that out, but I think, yeah, it's quite uninteresting, right? And then, yeah, I think the whole idea is, okay, this is for a fan. You want to have this on your shelf because, you know, you are a big fan, and here you go. But I think from a BlueBrixx perspective, this could be the most awful set I've seen by LEGO in quite a while, and it's really expensive. 13.3 cents a piece. That's ridiculous. But like I said, this is not for us, I think, for most of us. But anyhow, let's move on to the new series of Marvel sets from the new Guardians of the Galaxy Episode 3, I think it's called. They are all going to be released 1st of April. First, we have the 76255, the new Guardians ship. 1,108 pieces, and LEGO is asking for $100. Retail over here in Europe already started listing these for pre-order around $80. So, yeah, and yes, one is Euro, the other one is US, so, but they're usually roughly the same. But anyhow, definitely this thing will come down in price over here in Europe. Usually we pay over here in Europe for these sets that go into retail like 30% less on average than what LEGO is doing. But anyhow, I think I really love the ship design. The ship design in general is amazing, and LEGO did a great job as well to represent this. For me, this kind of reminds me, just from the shape, like EVE Online ships. There are a couple of ships in EVE Online that look a bit like this. I think there was a frigate that looked a bit like this. I can't recall the name. But of course, the color scheme is something that, yeah, you need to be a big fan of the TV series. Is it actually a movie or a TV series, Episode 3? Anyhow, assuming that it is a movie, yeah, I think in BlueBrixx, it doesn't look that nice. That's at least my personal point of view. But the shape is amazing. And this is, I think, for me personally, the most interesting part. Marvel, especially compared to Star Wars, usually you had a problem that the torsos were always printed and they had always nice head designs, but usually the legs were not printed in Marvel figures, like in 80% of them or 90%. So from that point of view, Marvel compared to Star Wars, in my point of view, was always lacking in the minifigure department. But if you look at this new wave, all the leg pieces are printed, including the hips. I mean, not even the Stormtroopers have their hips printed. So this is really a new level of quality when it comes to the minifigures, which I really applaud LEGO for, and I do hope that they will keep going around this. So, but at least that is the case for this set or for this new wave. And I think for that, it is really, really great. Like I said, the Starship itself, that's definitely a Starship I'm interested in rebricking, but in different color scheme, like in dark bluish gray or so. I think this thing could look really amazing. Anyhow, here you go, the new Guardians ship. And then we have Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy headquarters set, 76253. And this one is really amazing. It's one of these tiny sets, had only 67 pieces, but 2 minifigures. One of them is Groot. And again, high quality figures, like entirely printed, legs printed, hip printed, and just pay $10. I'm pretty sure over in Europe you will be able to buy it for $7. You have 2 minifigures and both of them are high quality. So I think that is a deal. Again, not for the set, just for the minifigures. I think that's the easiest way to get a good Groot thing here. I'm not even sure. In the Marvel calendar, I think they had a Groot. Did that Groot also had this kind of quality? I'm not sure. But it's a beautiful minifigure for sure. And then we have the 76254 Marvel Baby Rocket Ship. Here we have a rocket in there, and then I guess what is Baby Rocket? 1st of April, again, release 330 pieces. Lego is asking for $35. That's 10.5 cents a piece. That's okay. By the way, there was a good thing also I forgot to mention around the new Guardians ship. It's only 9 cents a piece, and there are large pieces in there. This is a pretty good price. Usually licensed sets never go below 10 cents. So in that size, at least. And so that's good news. This one here is slightly above 10 cents, 10.5. You have one minifigure with Rocket and a pet. I guess that's Baby Rocket, I assume. The ship itself looks nice. I mean, it's also very colorful, but at least this one here I find personally a bit more pleasing in yellow and orange. And yeah, again, I can't say how well designed this one is because I haven't seen episode 3, but for me, it looks really, really nice. And then we have Ant-Man as a buildable, constructible figure, 76256. Lego has done these before. I've built the Iron Man, which I really liked. I also liked the cool feature that you could put this thing into the Hulkbuster. I guess that's one of the few things that were actually cool around the Hulkbuster. However, it didn't work that well, so but I like the Iron Man figure. And now we have Ant-Man. Personally, I'm not a big fan of Ant-Man, so that's why I can't say that much about it. What I can say is, though, that Lego is asking for $30, and I guess the absolute highlight for a lot of people is the nano scale minifigure or nanoscale figure that is in there, and it's completely printed. That is cool. I don't know. Please put it in the comments if I'm wrong here, but I at least can't recall that Lego has ever done a printed nano figure. It looks really, really cool. That is that I can say for sure. And it's a cool idea, of course, right? Around the Ant-Man theme. The figure itself is also nicely built and has a couple of stickers, but I think you could easily live without them. So from that point of view, I'm not going to complain. So that was Lego. With that, we're moving on to PanBo, where we have now availability of The Office, the newest set that is designed by Also Young. We're talking about the 7702 from PanBo. That is a new brand. My belief is it somehow belongs to the same group as Morg, Urge, and Xingbao do. I also believe we will see Xingbao pieces in there, but at this point in time, this is just speculation because I haven't built it yet. I definitely intend to do this. What I can say, though, is this thing has 3,828 pieces. As always, in the podcast show notes or in the YouTube description, you will find a link to the SetDB entry as I'm showing them here, and there you also have a link, to all the designs by Also Young, but also to the original mock on Rebrickable. So Also Young has worked with this again, I assume we are seeing similar pieces as in the previous 3 designs where he worked or collaborated with Morg. Before that with Urge. He has also worked in the past with CaDA and Mold King. Actually, I'm a big fan of the 3 Mold King sets because Also Young is just a genius and it comes to designing, and they had very good pieces. Wasn't a big fan of the pieces in these 3 sets, but I've built all 3 of them, and the design is always amazing. That man knows really what he's doing. Anyhow, The Office now under the brand PanBo, here with the blue new logo. It's actually the first set that I put into the SetDB from this new brand. That's all I can say about it at this point in time. Really looking forward to building this one. Anyhow, then we have over here in Europe 2 announcements. I haven't seen these with any of my Chinese partners, but we have 2 Panlos sets, music boxes actually. One is called Westlake. It's a 656020. It has 445 pieces. That's at this point in time the only thing I can say about it. And then we have the Koi music box, 656022, 620 pieces. Don't know a price yet. And like I said, I haven't seen these with any of my Chinese partners. And then we have a couple of availabilities over here in Europe. One is the Reobrix racing truck, the 11008. Over here in Europe, BlueBrixx, actually in this case, the shop is asking for $150. Whoa, that's 7.1 cents a piece. And at least I've built a couple of Reobrix sets, not Technic, just system sets, but the piece quality was mediocre at best. So asking for $150 for that piece quality, that is actually a lot. I think much more interesting from price performance perspective are a couple of Sembo Technic sets that also became available over here in Europe. They are all radio controlled. I think it's 2 or 3 of them. Let's go through them one by one. We're talking about the 701074, a red sports car, obviously very similar to a famous Italian sports car brand or supercar brand. Anyhow, this one here has 1,483 pieces. It's a 1x14 scale set. It is motorized, like I said, and it's just $75. That's 5 cents a piece over here from a European shop. Obviously, if you order these directly from China, they are usually a lot cheaper. And then we have a much larger green one in scale 1x10, the 701025. It's 2,671 pieces. Again, including motorization, including control and everything. $120, 4.5 cents a piece. So that is a bargain. I can't say anything about the piece quality though. I have built a Sembo set, but I think that was a small system set and was with BlueBrixx pieces. I think Technic is Sembo's own pieces. So I'm not really sure how good they are. And with that, let's move on to the modern chopper in red with side backs. By the way, these are all translations that usually the shop is doing, because this thing, as you can see, doesn't have an English name. But so that's usually where these very creative names come from, because usually it's done by the shop, in this case BlueBrixx again. So 701811, a motorcycle, looks pretty cool actually. I'm not really into motorcycles, but this one I like. 803 pieces. Over here in Europe you pay for it $40. That's 5 cents a piece. So that was all the news on sets, and with that we are moving on to MOCs of the week. And here I have, what have I brought this week? 6 MOCs recently released on Rebrickable. And first one is Ancient Wonders of the World by a designer which name I can't pronounce. I tried in my German podcast. I horribly failed, so I'm not going to try this again. Anyhow, these Ancient Wonders of the World is 1,942 pieces, architecture scale, $8 for the manual. And it's 7 Wonders of the World: Statue of Zeus, Pharos, the Lighthouse in Alexandria, Colossus of Rhodes, of course, the Hanging Gardens, the Temple of Artemis, the Mausoleum in Halikarnassos. I guess I have no idea how Greek people will pronounce this, but this is how I will go. And then, of course, the Pyramids of Gizeh. And I think it's a beautiful design. I think there's a ton of stuff to explore, a lot of stuff to unpack. It's the Wonders of the World in just one set. And however, it's not small. You need 1,942 pieces, but I really like the idea. I really like the design. And then we have a Roman ancient aqueduct from Sir Percival, who's also actually a YouTuber over here in Germany. 1,067 parts, $6 for the manual. And yeah, I think it's a very nice design, interesting building technique, or interesting choice of how to build it. It's the entire aqueduct is just made out of plates, a couple of ingots, round plates, regular plates, and in a lot of different colors. So there is some dark orange in there, medium nougat in there, tan and dark tan, of course. Obviously, if you intend to build this MOC, you can, use the color whatever you like. I'm pretty sure a lot of folks would prefer more like a dark tan look. Not so much dark orange as it is in here, but I think it does look really, really nice. There are some plants in there. There's a little bit of river in here. Obviously, it's only a very small set, but if you're interested in this and just buy the manual to get a better insight into the building techniques, you could go on and on with this one, right? But because it is so detailed, or even for this very tiny model, which looks like 16 by 16 studs, something like that, you already need 1,000 pieces. So maybe it could be interesting to put also a couple of larger pieces in, to make it a bit easier to buy this in larger scale. But I think there's a lot of stuff to explore here. Interesting building techniques also on the plans. Yeah, so really like this one design. However, for me, I mean, Chris Romans, that this stuff is just so amazing. So we have actually, I brought this week a collection. Obviously, you can buy all of the manuals, all of the designs also individually. And I've talked about a few of those before. And this is now the mini winter medieval and forest collection. So you have the Lion Knight's castle in the winter variant. Then the medieval Smiths, the 21325, I think it's called, right? In a winter version, you have the new A-frame and, of course, the Treehouse, the Ideas one, all of them in a winter variant. And I'm just such a big fan. I mean, I don't know. We have February now. Usually that means over here in Europe you can go skiing now. But, I mean, it's so ridiculously warm. It's almost like summer. So I'm not sure if I'm going to see any snow this year again. But, I mean, here we go. You have snow and bricks. Beautiful design. I'm a big fan of Chris Romans. It's just amazing stuff. And you don't need that much space. However, just for these 4 MOCs, don't underestimate them. They're not that tiny. They need a lot of pieces. You need 2,187 pieces. However, good news is you only have to pay £10. And you get a lot of building fun, I believe. And then we have the Falcon's Barbichan Gatehouse. I do apologize for my ignorance. I have no idea. I think that is a castle, I guess, in the UK. I have no idea how this is pronounced. I also couldn't do it in German. I have no idea. Barbican. Sounds like barbecue. Anyhow, again, my apologies for my ignorance. 1,881 pieces, though, for £10. You get a lot of castle, a lot of interesting building techniques. It's not very detailed from the inside. The inside is quite simple, actually, but I really like this, actually, when mock designers are doing it like this, because for me personally, this is like a starting point, right? You buy the instruction, you get things going, you get a good idea and a good firm grasp on the building techniques to build the walls, and then you can, start detailing it from the inside, but you can, of course, also make it larger a lot. There's a lot of repeatable stuff in there. So long story short, this is a good starting point, but you can, of course, also combine it with other mocks that have been done by Legolot, which is actually the designer. So if you go on Legolot, he has also done the Black Falcon's Grand Tower. I think that is something that he recommends to combine with his new set. But there are others. You can also use the Falcon's Impenetrable Keep. So there's a lot of stuff to explore here, a lot of interesting building techniques, a lot of ideas and designs that you can use, again, to get started with your own castle. They are different, so you cannot directly put them together, I think. So if you look at the wall design, for instance, it is definitely different, but there's a ton of stuff to explore to get your own projects going. Anyhow, speaking of such, then there is from BlueBrixx, which I think I've mentioned before, has an amazing Instagram account, can highly recommend it. And here we have the mountain tower, free of charge. It's like a small, a small keep, a small castle, if you will, a small tower. You can open it up, actually. There's a lot of also to explore here, interesting building techniques, and it's free of charge. So again, if you're one of those folks who say, okay, I loved Lego Castle, but Lego is not doing that many anymore. Lion Knights was nice, but it's not enough. There's so much amazing stuff to explore on Rebrickable, and BlueBrixx is a good example. It's done in a million of interesting designs. Also on Instagram, all of them for free usually. There's a lot of great stuff to explore here. Speaking of great stuff, let's move on to LEGO Ideas. We have 4 design entries this week. So again, that's entries that made the 10,000 supporters, which means that next stage is that the LEGO Ideas team is going to consider them for actually make a set of them. And then we have by Terauma, I guess the name is pronounced, the Riverside Lodge, which is interesting because as far as I know, as you can see it on his account, or her, I'm not sure, that this entire thing was already entered in a slightly different version into Vacations and Nature, which was a LEGO Ideas competition, so it was like a different thing. So basically this is a re-entry in the regular Ideas program, which I guess is okay. It seems LEGO doesn't have a problem with that. And it made it the 10,000, and it looks really, really nice. I mean, personally, I don't think that it has a good chance with LEGO, simply for the matter of fact that they just released the A-frame. And of course, this here is a similar concept, a similar idea behind it, right? Like, a vacation in the woods. We had the Ideas treehouse, we had the A-frame cabin, and I think it's just too close. If this thing would have been, here like a year later, it might have a shot. This way, I don't think that LEGO will do it so close to A-frame, but I may be wrong. What we also have is a locomotive. This is actually the Genoa, a Virginia and Truckee Virginia and Truckee 440 locomotive, road number 12, built August 5th, 1872. No, actually it was finished in January 1873. So I'm not really sure what this August 5th, 1872 refers to. Anyhow, this is a locomotive from North America, Virginia and Truckee. And actually, it's designed by Sigges. No idea. Oh, so problematic always with names. Who has actually released a ton of these, or put a ton of these into the LEGO Ideas contest around 2021. Actually, it took quite a while for them to get the 10,000. As you can see, several of those, usually most of them are stuck around 2,000 supporters. So I think they do not have such a big chance, but the number 12 actually made it. And here we go. Locomotive, LEGO Ideas. Yeah, why not? I mean, they could do it. Then we have another thing that LEGO has done a million sets of, another TV series, office, display diorama. In this case, it is from Brooklyn 99, which I personally have actually never seen. And yeah, I mean, they have done so many of these. The Office, obviously, I've talked about that I was a big fan of the Central Perk. I would say Big Bang Theory was okay, but Central Park was really amazing. But after that, they just made too many for my personal taste. Anyhow, I think this is an interesting set for, of course, idea for all the fans of Brooklyn 99. And I mean, in general, I would always, if you ask me, there's always a good chance that LEGO will do this one as well, just because they've done so many and it seems they are going well. I mean, I don't know why they make so many of these. However, Fab 5 seems to be a real flop, because at least I don't know how it is in the US, but over here in Europe, this thing, the Fab 5 set, is on discount like forever, and huge discounts, even by LEGO itself. I think they have a 40% discount on this one, and it seems they just can't sell them, which is interesting. But anyhow, with that, we are moving on to the Ilinai family house. I'm pretty sure I entirely pronounce this wrong. This is actually from the city of Kaunas in Lithuania. In German, it's Litauen. I actually don't know Lithuanian, how it is pronounced. Again, my sincere apologies for my ignorance. Anyhow, very nice modern design. And yeah, it's almost like a modular building. I guess it's somewhere like 32 by maybe 48 studs, I think. However, it's built on regular plates, not on base plates, so I can't really be for sure, and I'm too lazy to count all the studs. Anyhow, it's a very nice design. It's modular, and I just love these kind of modern art designs. And here you go. I mean, personally, if I look at the interior, I would have preferred to have a few more tiles, but I guess this thing was also restricted by the 3,000 piece count restriction on pieces. So this thing has 2,600 pieces. So yeah, I think there was some room to put maybe 200 additional tiles in there. But anyhow, it's 34 by 21 centimeters. So it's actually a lot less than 32 studs, I think. No, maybe that's the height. Not 100% sure. But yeah, here you go. Nice, interesting design. And then we have something else, which is a curiosity. It has 425 comments. So a lot of people, I think, feel that they need to talk about this one. It's a multi-tool by BlueBrixx. And yeah, it's, I think, the strangest thing. It is a meme, right? It's the strangest thing I've ever seen on LEGO Ideas. I'm pretty sure LEGO's not going to make an official LEGO Ideas set out of this. This could be like a gift with purchase, right? But yeah, it has maybe, I don't know, how many pieces does it have? Like 30? It's really, really tiny. And yeah, it's like a Swiss Army knife in LEGO Bricks. And it has a piece separator in there. Right. Here we go. that was the week. I hope you liked the show. For those of you who watch this on YouTube, please leave a like or comment, or even better, subscribe to the channel. For you podcast listeners, please leave a review, comment, or like on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the show. Thank you for listening. See you next week.